Hi there, BookTube! My name is Cristina and today I'm finally back with a review. It's been a while since I last filmed a review. I believe it was December. My last one came out. And this one is for a very, let's say, special book. And it's The Rules of Magic, written by Alice Hoffman. For those of you who don't know, this is a prequel book to the Practical Magic book, again by Alice Hoffman, of course. And Practical Magic is the book that was written on which the famous movie of the 90s was based, Practical Magic, the one with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, the one about witches, Owen witches. So if you've ever watched Practical Magic, the movie, I believe that it won't be too spoilery to know something about the rules of magic, but even if you've not watched the movie and not read the book, don't worry, it's still a prequel that took place like probably 50-60 years before the story that we discover in the movie and in this book, so it's not too much spoilery, at least not at the beginning at all. And I have to tell you that I've not read the book. I bought it in order to read it afterwards, and I decided to read the first one, even if it's the last one that came out, and then to read Practical Magic. I love the movie. It's a movie that I watched when I was a little girl, so I love it very much. I knew the story and I went into it without knowing anything about Alice Hoffman's way of writing. So it was a very new information for me. So let's go and let me give you a general idea about what this book is about. So this is the story that is told from a third-person narrator, and we follow the perspective of three siblings. They are two girls, Frances and Bridget, and a brother who is Vincent. And these three brothers, sisters, brothers all together, I don't know, siblings, it's the word that I was searching for, siblings. These three siblings, they are very special because they are part of the Owens family. And what we discover in the very first pages of this book is that the Owens family is a very old family, and it has always been a family of witches, so they have quite a long tradition, and their family is apparently cursed, and the curse comes back to Maria Owen, the very first of their family, that one day decided that love was pretty much a curse, and it was too hurtful to love someone and then to lose it, and that nothing good can come out of a love relationship. So she decided to basically curse her next generations in destroying every love relationship that they may possibly have in their future lives. So their love interest usually dies or something else happens to him or her. So that's the premise of the book. We follow three siblings from the very young age, from when they're children, and how they grow up, how they discover their powers, and what kind of powers they have, what they can or cannot do. And here the magical system is very real life-like, so they don't, I don't know, they don't create thunders or bolts out of their hands, so it's not like the Charmed series, for example. It's much more of a subtle magic, and a lot that has to do with herbs and with the way you perceive the world and the fact that you may foresee some of the future, this kind of magic. So if you're in for a high fantasy, this is not something that you will enjoy. It's more like a real life story with some magical elements into it, and this follows pretty much the life of the siblings. So this is it. This is the whole book. We follow three different people throughout their life, how they live together at the beginning, how they separate, what happens to them, and each of them has a different relationship with love, and we follow their way of thinking, how they change throughout years, and this is something that I appreciated about this book. And it was quite interesting to see how this book links to the Practical Magic book and I believe movie too, because of course this being the prequel of this, they are somehow connected, but you will discover it towards the mid of the book and the end of the book maybe, and I ended up rating this book 3.75 stars, I believe. And this is just because at the beginning it was very hard for me to create a connection with the characters, because the book, for like a good half of it, felt like a prequel for the sake of being a prequel. It didn't felt like a whole book. It was just a collection of facts about characters that we will meet later. So I don't know, at the beginning I wasn't connecting too much with any of the characters, but then something happened and I started to understand how they were thinking and how their relationship worked among them, because this is something that I really appreciated. I read this book together with my friend and we read it together pretty much at the same time, and she gave me a different point of view, because I was a bit disappointed with the siblings' relationship. I hoped that it would be more like a tie relationship and more lovely and caring, and she pointed out that probably this was the point of the author, to show that they were tied by blood but not necessarily by love. They cared for each other, but they weren't attached one to the other, and there was respect, but it had a different form from that to which we are used to. They weren't sticking together. They loved each other to the point that they were able to leave each other live a free life, and this is something that I really got to appreciate further in the story, not at the beginning. And it was interesting to see how some aspects of their life were perceived when they were young, and then when they grew up there was homosexual character in it, and it was very nice to see, because this book is set in America and a part of the story takes place in the 60s, so when a lot of things were changing, and it was very interesting to see it actually. And then the thing that I really loved of the book was toward the end, probably the end of the last but one chapter, and it was just so sweet and lovely, and I really appreciated it. And I probably will make a video about a couple of quotes from this book, because there are some quotes that stuck with me, and I hope that it will help someone else too. It will strike someone. And just one thing that I would love to read to you to give you a general idea of what this book is about is this one: know that the only remedy for love is to love more. And this is a sentence that really stayed with me, because it's very true. When you suffer a loss and when you lose somebody that you loved for whatever reason in the world, the only solution, the only real solution is to love even more, to love in the same way or in a different way someone else, but it's just to love even more. It's never to hate someone, it's never to I don't know, to close yourself to the world. It's always to love someone even more. And this is a message that I will definitely carry from this book, and I cannot wait to read this one, because I believe that being a book, it will be so much more complete than the movie, of course, and I'm very curious to see it. But one thing, as you already may see, that I definitely hated about this book is the format. I mean, why? Dear editors, dear publishers, dear whoever deals with books, why in the world would you publish a sequel in a completely different format from the main book? Look at them. I mean, this book, the one that I just read, I had to squeeze it in a hardcover cover. The cover that I usually use for my hardcovers, I needed to squeeze it inside because it was slightly bigger than hardcovers book. Why? Why would you do such a thing? Why such a big book? Why can't it be similar? Why? I hate it. I hate when they do it. All the readers hate it, but they keep doing it. And then about Alice Hoffman's way of writing, I need to tell you that it wasn't very poetical. I was waiting for something more, I don't know, more lyrical maybe, but it's not. It's very right to the point, and she never sugarcoat anything. She goes quite directly to the point. This is, oh yeah, this is definitely not young adult kind of book. It's more on the adult side. There are a couple of things that happen. There are definitely there are a couple of triggering moments probably for someone who suffers from suicidal thoughts or depression and so on, so be careful in going into it, but it was still very interesting, and I can suggest you to give it a try. Or maybe I've not read this one, but maybe this one will be more suitable. I don't know. From what I remember from the movie, there are a couple of very violent moments, but I don't know if the book will be the same, so maybe in the future I will read this one and I will make a review of Practical Magic and Rules of Magic altogether. But for now, for Rules of Magic, it's a 3.75 stars for me, and probably a 7 on my 10 scale, like, rating system. And let me know down below if you've read this one, or if you've read Practical Magic, or if you've watched the movie Practical Magic, and who was your favorite sister? Was it Gillian? Was it Susan? I'm curious to know it. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very, very soon in my next one. Bye! Ciao!